Hello. Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Good. Okay. My name is Prashant Abraham. I'm the secretary of the Drexel Grad Student Association, and I'm so happy to see all of you, and actually really happy to introduce the new career development and networking event for the first time. As you see here, this is a truly, for the first time, a collaborative event between different grad associations at Drexel. So you can see here we have Malvika from the DGYs, we have Jared from the Drexel Entrepreneur Association, we have Rajat from the IGSA, we have Melvin from Pragati, and we have Jefferson from Liga, and we have different other people also who couldn't be here at this time, but they're going to join us shortly. So as you can see here, all the grad associations have combined together to make this event, and we hope this will take up, and for that we need all your participation. That's all we ask from you. Please make sure you come, you spread the message to as many people as you can. Let's get big participation so it motivates us to do these events more and more. So the goal of this career development event is basically to play a proactive role in educating students about the different career prospects, and also providing opportunities for us to make better informed decisions of which career is probably better for us. We're all probably, some of us are probably already at the crossroads, and some will soon be there. So it's good to get a good understanding of what are the different career prospects that can be offered, whether you want to move into academia or maybe go into industry. So we try and invite speakers from faculty, even people from the companies to come into Drexel, talk about their experiences, and share their knowledge and help inspire you and maybe give you something that, oh, that's probably what I want to do. We also have Stephanie here from the alumni office. So we're working very closely with the alumni office and the SEDC to basically make all this happen. So we hope you all can benefit from it. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to benefit, and most of our team here is going to benefit too. So I would like to acknowledge the speakers today for being here. Thank you so much for your time and for coming to this event, and also to all of you, thank you so much. I'd also like to acknowledge my team. Most of them are here, but there are a few who have not come today. But thank you so much, guys, for everything. And I hope, and the good thing is we had requests from all the way from Sacramento, California about this event. So some of them wanted to do live webcasting, and unfortunately for this particular event, we don't have live webcasting. Maybe we might plan for our future events. We're going to record it, so all of you can smile. We're going to be on YouTube probably later on. So put your best smiles there, so that it benefits also people who sign up online and stuff. With that, I pretty much I leave it to the moderator. I would like to introduce Dr. Ivan Bartoli. He's the moderator for this session. He's an assistant professor in the Civil Architecture and Environmental Department. He's also my co-advisor, so we share a good relationship. So hopefully. actually, you know what? Until now, he has not formally accepted to be the moderator. So I hope his presence is the fact that he's the moderator. So with that, I hand it over to Dr. Bartoli. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right. Is this the right distance? Okay. First of all, I'm not sure why I should be the moderator, because Prashant, I think, can do a fantastic job, and I think that I can do mostly damage to this event. But hopefully, I'm going to minimize the damage and carry this event on. Just a few little words about myself. My name is Ivan Bartoli. I got my PhD from University of California, San Diego, where I graduated. I got my PhD back in 2007. It was a little bit difficult for me to leave San Diego, so it took me until 2010 to realize that it was time to move on, where in 2010 Drexel was so nice to offer me a job, a faculty position in the civil architecture and environmental engineering department, very hard to say. And I came here at Drexel back in September 2010, so this is my third year. I really like the idea of this event because I understand that this is a point for you guys, for the graduate students, also to look for your future. I'm going to make hopefully not too many jokes during this discussion today, but I know that this is the point in which you look at certain information. For instance, last night we had a brilliant speaker in my class where I could teach with Antonio Sconsos, and I remember I saw Prashant taking only one note. Basically, this smart speaker at a certain point told about the salary of non-destructive people, non-destructive inspectors, so there were all the salaries listed. And that was the only time that I saw Prashant writing down something and taking notes about what happened in our class. So is of course we are not here only for for salary or something like that, but it's a good moment for you to start looking at the future. What are the opportunities for you? So I don't want to take any additional time. I think that we have a really tight schedule. I would like to introduce quickly the first speaker will be Carol Spiller, correct? Okay, so I'll just say a few words. I had to quickly go through the web just to pull up some information. So Carol received her bachelor's and master's degree from Drexel University in biomedical engineering in 2007. She conducted her doctoral research in the design of semi-degradable hydrogels for the repair of articular cartilage in the Biomaterials and Drug Delivery Laboratory at Drexel, and in the Shanghai Key Tissue Engineering Laboratory of Shanghai Jiao Tong University. That's tough to say. After completing her PhD in 2010, when she received the award for Most Outstanding Doctoral Graduate, Most Promise to Enhance Drexel Reputation. She conducted research in the design of scaffolds for bone tissue engineering as a Fulbright Fellow in the biomaterials, biodegradables, and biomimetics, or 3Bs, I think it's called, research group at University of Minho in Guimarães, Portugal. So she had also an experience, several experiences actually outside US. And she's currently conducting research in the design of immunomodulatory. So this is impossible, right? So sorry, I'm proceeding. You have to be patient. Biomaterials, particularly for bone tissues engineering. So she's got quite a bit of a curriculum, and hopefully, hopefully I did a decent job in presenting you. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I'll use this in case for recording or anything. Okay, so thank you very much for that nice introduction. I'm sorry that there were so many long words in it. So I would like to apologize too for two reasons. One, in that I have to leave around 11, so I wish I could stay for this whole event because it seems excellent. And two, because I know nothing about what it takes to be a good professor because I'm 7 weeks into my faculty position. So Prashant asked for some specific things for these slides, so that's what I put in them, but you should take them through that lens that I don't know anything, and they're kind of a mix of what I thought as going through it and also what I want now, and I'm going to try to point out the differences between them at each stage. So, okay, so maybe you want to be a professor. What does it take to do that? I'm going to have to stand because it's way too close to me. Maybe I'll stand over here since I have this excellent thing. Okay, so my path from Drexel to Drexel. As you guys just heard, I finished my BSMS in 2007, and then it was going so well, I decided to stay for the PhD in 2010. And I know there's probably some people here. Drexel has a lot of people who do their bachelor's here and then stay for the PhD, which I think is great. I mean, when you find a good thing, why would you change it? You know, if you guys are wondering, I was paranoid the entire time that this would not make me a marketable candidate for faculty positions. I see a lot of people nodding, so I see that was not a common fear. I mean, that was a common fear. So what I did to remedy that was I sort of went out of my way to make myself special in some other way. And so this was actually not that big. I really just wanted to go to China because the Olympics were going to China, but that ended up completely changing my career. So I went to China because I wanted to travel, but also there was more of a biological focus in this lab. And I ended up doing the last game of my thesis in Shanghai, and I learned Chinese, and I still collaborate with these people in China. And when I was applying to faculty positions, they really liked that because China's very hot right now. And international collaborations are really important in general, so I would recommend you guys all collaborate with someone internationally, and then market that as well as you can on future applications. Okay. So then, because I loved the experience so much of seeing how different cultures affect science, because what I ended up finding was because the Chinese culture was so different from my own culture, it really elevated the creativity of our science, which was something I was not expecting at all. And so I went to Portugal because this guy in Portugal requires all of his PhD students to go abroad for at least 1 year, which is a long time to force people to go abroad, you know. So I wanted to know what were the logistical issues surrounding that. So I went for 8 months, and what I learned is that people are afraid to go abroad for 1 year, but they all have such a good time and come back and tell their friends that they had such a good time that it takes away from the fear of future people going abroad. And no one said that they did not enjoy the experience of the hundreds of people that are there. Okay. Then I went to Columbia University for a legit postdoc, and I was there for 2 years. And I completely changed focus of my research. So if you guys are wondering, can you change your focus? Yes, I recommend it, but you have to keep in mind that there's going to be a steep learning curve and it's going to be frustrating. So I didn't really like the project that I did for my PhD. So when I went for the postdoc, I was like, I love research, but I do not like where I was going with the whole, within that. I just didn't like cartilage tissue engineering. I'm not really interested in that anymore. So at Columbia, I completely started doing different things. Blood vessels are really different from cartilage, so it may not seem different if anyone's not in the field of tissue engineering, but it's pretty different. And it was frustrating at first because I was used to writing all these publications. I mean, if I had stayed another year at Drexel, probably could have gotten 3 more publications out. You know, you get on a roll, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll just do this, and then it's a publication. Well, it took me, actually my publications are still not out from my postdoc. Okay, it's only 7 weeks out of my postdoc, but we just submitted the first one recently. So that was really frustrating that I came off this run of success, and I got most outstanding graduate student, and then I was a peon postdoc with no publications for a while, you know. But somehow I convinced Drexel to hire me with no publications for my postdoc. And here we are, Drexel 2.0. And so I'm taking kind of the lessons that I learned during my postdoc, which was how important the inflammatory response is in all diseases and tissue repair and tissue regeneration processes. And now I'm just kind of exploring that in the context of different diseases. Okay, so now starts the slides that I don't really know what to say. So Prashant asked what are the fundamental skills needed in my area. So what I found is that chemistry has been the most important thing for me. So a really solid understanding of chemistry has become really important. And also techniques in cell culture and being able to design good experiments and not worry about the actual process of the experimental techniques. So that's kind of general, sorry. Okay, so my advice as someone who went through this and now taking students of my own. So masters, I wrote a level of independence is appreciated, but don't be afraid to ask for help. So to be honest with you, I've been frustrated with the whole master's process because I want all of my students to publish lots of papers right now because that's what I need to succeed in my career. So master's students are automatically going to be not publishing papers, you know. So what frustrates me when I have a master's student is when they can't design experiments for themselves. And so one of the things that I'm really working on right now as a brand new faculty is how to treat master's students differently from PhDs and get them to that level of independence. So I'm still working on that one. So if there's any master's students in the room, please try to work things out for yourself, but then also don't be afraid to ask for help. So it's like a balance, you know. And don't bite off more than you can chew. And this is true for all students. My biggest problem that I have is when students tell me they're going to do something by a certain time and then it doesn't happen. Because I plan for that, you know. So if you, don't just tell me you're going to do something because you think that's what I want. Because that is what I want. And I'll tell you this is what I want. You know, I want you to be finished by next Monday. If you can't do it, please tell me you can't do it because then we'll just plan around that. Okay? All right. At the time that you reach the PhD level, it's really annoying if you don't show independence because now you're supposed to become the master of your own project. And I think back to my own PhD experience where my advisor was super hands-off, and then my postdoc advisor was super hands-off too. So now I expect my students to educate themselves and to have the same level of independence that I did as a graduate student, but everybody's different, you know, so it's something, I think you just need to kind of go that extra mile as a PhD student and accept that you are expected to be more knowledgeable in the area than I am by the time you graduate. Okay. And I think postdocs should explore new research directions for themselves and for the PI. So I already said that I think it's a good idea to completely change research directions for yourself. But I think that's really useful for your PI as well as a postdoc. If you say like, look, like for example, what I did, I knew my advisor was interested in vascularization, but she knew nothing about the inflammatory response. And I was like, look, the inflammatory response is important here. Why don't we explore how the inflammatory response interacts with blood vessel growth, and we'll see what we can go from there. And she was like, sure, fine, whatever. She was extremely hands-off, I already said that. But we got really interesting results from this. I mean, I kind of viewed it as a collaboration, really. I was in her lab, but I became the expert on the inflammatory response, and she was kind of the blood vessel person, you know. So I think that's a good way to approach the postdoc. That, I mean, you have a PhD, you should be an expert and be able to design experiments at that point. So don't graduate before you consider yourself able to design experiments. Okay, so I was also asked to say what publication guidelines there are. I really would love if every master's student that I have gets a publication, because you know, I spend a lot of time helping them, and I need something out of it in order for my career to progress. I think for PhDs, 3 to 4 is a good number. I had 4 plus a review article, and one of them was like pretty high impact. I think that was a good number. And for the postdoc, I think you should strive to have one very high impact, and then one like decently high impact, and then one like, well, you just did that one, but it's in a good journal, but it's not, you know, the most important one. So that's what I think is good. I know people who have completely done nothing like this, you know. For your PhD, if you have one very high impact, obviously that's great, you know. I'm sure it depends on the field too. This is pretty specific to biomedical engineering. And then also the postdoc thing, you know, I think we're not all engineers here, right? So engineering, postdoc, like there's business people here too, right? And are there business students here? So are there postdocs in business? Right, so okay. So this is for engineering postdocs, which are typically 2 to 3 years. So I think this is a good number of publications in 2 to 3 years. If you have a 7-year postdoc, which happens in biology, if there's any people here, you might want to have more than what I list there, I don't know. Okay, Prashant asked me to talk about collaborations, which I have found to be ridiculously useful in my career. So I would go out of your way to start collaborations because, one, they're just more fun, so you don't get stuck working on your own and just working. I mean, you get to interact with people. I'm a pretty social person, so this is important for me. But you also get to leverage your skills. So you get to take somebody, like for example, the Shanghai collaboration. I was not good at cell biology. This lab was not good at biomaterials. So that was just your most stereotypical collaboration ever. When we combined forces, it was an amazing project. You know, so that's what you want to do. And you broaden your areas of expertise. I'm doing diabetic wound healing right now, which I never thought that I would do. But there was a really good collaborator, Dr. Weingarten, in the Drexel Wound Clinic, who said, you know, you should check this out. The inflammatory response is probably important. And it turns out it's really important and it's extremely interesting. But what I love about my students right now is that they all work really closely with collaborators, and most of them have found their own collaborators, which was something I didn't expect. So I have a BSM student, Tony, who went to Shanghai Jiaotong in the same lab where I did my PhD. So I still collaborate with them, and they are still generously taking students of mine and training them. Claire is now my PhD student. She did her BSMS project also in that Shanghai Jiaotong lab, and now she came back to Drexel to do her PhD with me. But she just went and started a collaboration with this professor at the University of Manchester in England, and that's why I have to leave at 11 because he happens to be in Philadelphia today, so I have to meet him. And thank him for taking, you know, a student, because she'll be there for a year and he's going to support her for that year, you know. Sina is my other PhD student, and he went and started 2 separate collaborations on his own. He is from Iran and knows everyone in the United States who's also from Iran. And so he's the best networker I've ever met. And whenever there's someone from Iran that does something mildly related to what we do, he immediately begins a collaboration with them. And then we just see where it goes. So the one that has worked out really well so far is this one with the bioinformatics group at SHOP. And I don't know anything about bioinformatics, but that's really useful in my field, so that's been great. And then I have 3 other students that have other advisors, and I'm just co-advising them. And that's because they came to me and said, you know, we think that your expertise in this area would be useful for our project. Will you co-advise me? And I was like, sure. So actually, all of the students took it on their own initiative to start the collaboration, which I found pleasantly surprising. Okay, so now I have some advice about how to choose a postdoc, and Prashant did not ask me to talk about this, but I feel like I have a little bit more experience in this department. So I can tell you what I did. So first, you should just kind of survey the literature and see whose labs you're interested in. And you should base it on research interests, but then if you've ever met them and they seem nice and like they're supportive, then you want to think about them. And if other people say they're nice. I have a lot of people who say, you know, can you help me find a postdoc? And I'm like, well, no. I mean, do you know how many labs there are in the world? You tell me who you want, and then I will help you make a decision. You know, I'm not just going to say, go postdoc for this person. Like, if you're finishing up your PhD, you should know, you should be able to look at who you want to work for, what direction you want to go in, and then I can start helping you go through it. So that's what I did. I really wanted to go to New York. And I thought that everyone should live in New York for a couple of years. And so I was looking at the people at Columbia, and I started reading, my advisor was Gordana Vunjak-Novakovic, which, talk about hard to say. It took me 2 years to master. We just call her Gordana. So I really liked what she wrote at the ends of her papers. Maybe that's my next thing. Okay, so at the end of all of her publications, she was like, the biggest challenge right now is in vascularization. We are failing in vascularization. That's what we need to do for tissue engineering of all tissues. And I was like, yeah, that is so true. That is a really big challenge right now. And I thought, could I tackle that challenge? Is that something that I might want to do? And I started to kind of brainstorm about what would I do if I were trying to grow blood vessels. And I just got a lot of ideas that fit in well with her lab. And I explored other labs too, but the ideas just weren't flowing like they were for Gordana's lab. So I contacted her, cold email. No one that I knew her. So another misconception is that you can only get a postdoc through networks. Networks are great and everything, but I didn't have that. My advisor was chemical engineering, and I wanted to go more into the bio side, so he wasn't really going to help me. So I just spent a really long time writing this email to her. And it was a cover letter style email, but I didn't like attach a cover letter because now that I'm a professor, I know that I'm not going to click on the attachment that you sent me because I get way too many emails and I just don't have time to do that. So you need to say briefly in the email, because if it's too long, I'm also not going to read it. One, why you would be a good fit for the lab. So this is what I did. I mean, I'm sure it's different for other people. I emailed her and I was like, I really like that you combine, intelligent biomaterial design with knowledge of cell biology. So that was where I was saying, I know what you do. I don't email all people and say I want to work for them. I'm specifically contacting you because I will fit well in your lab. And then I dropped some names about people I've collaborated with during my PhD, so she would know that I have, skills and I'm not just some PhD student that's emailing out of nowhere, And then I said, one of the things I'd really like to work on in your lab is vascularization in tissue engineering, because I think this is a huge problem. But this was kind of cheating, because she said this in the discussion of all of her articles. And so I just basically threw it right back at her and said, I think this is the biggest problem in tissue engineering right now. Because she said it, And she agreed with me, and what she said was, thank you so much, but I'm sorry I don't have any room in my lab right now. Which is what everyone says, and I had anticipated that, so I immediately responded and said, that's okay, I'm going to apply to this fellowship, will you support my application? And she said, oh, yeah, sure. So, and then I said, I basically said, no pressure, if I don't get the fellowship, no pressure to hire me, But then I worked so hard on this grant application, and I was so dedicated to this grant application that she either was impressed or felt sorry for me and took me regardless, even though I didn't get the fellowship. So that was how I backdoored my way into Gordana's lab. I think that was a good strategy, so you guys might want to consider that. Okay, do not send a form email. Now that my email address is on the Drexel website, I get so many emails from people that oh, I just finished my PhD in water resource treatment. Can I please work for you? I mean, okay, that's obviously an extreme example, but I mean, it happens where this email was clearly copy and pasted. I think it's the Apple Mail program that you can tell what's been copy and pasted. I don't know if you guys realize that. Yes, you can see exactly what was copied and pasted from other emails. So maybe you want to write an email in a Word document and then copy and paste it in so that everything's in the same font. I don't know, but it's pretty clear when it's a form email and it's annoying. So either compose it all in one place, or compose it all in the email program. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Okay, this I really don't have good advice for about how to obtain a faculty position because it just kind of happened for me. I only applied to 2 places, and I always knew I wanted to be a professor at Drexel anyway, so my entire postdoc experience was just geared towards how do I convince Drexel that they should hire me, despite the fact that I have 3 degrees from Drexel and there's that academic incest problem, But I just basically made the case that the student's perspective is an equally valuable one, in addition to an outsider's perspective. And I did go to these other places, so I do have some outside perspective, but and I also made the case that I really care about Drexel, and I really do. And now in my classes, some people are here who have been in my class, I say to them, you better do a good job, because I have 3 degrees from the school, and I do not want you misrepresenting my degrees, And I think that's helpful. So anyway, I say network because the reason why I got these 2 interview positions, and I ultimately got 2 offers from the 2 places I interviewed, was because I knew the people from before. And they knew I was a hard worker and they liked me, so they gave me an offer. So networking is really important. So you should start now because you never know, and you can network with your peers, you never know if they're going to be able to get you an in somewhere. Make sure that network is strong. Apply before you think you're ready, and this is because you will never think you're ready. I applied about 2 years before I probably would have thought I was ready. And I got these offers, so clearly people saw something in me that they thought I had potential, and I would be able to become a professor. So it also doesn't hurt to apply early because the worst that could happen is you don't get any interviews, or maybe you get an interview and you get amazing practice interviewing, because interviewing for a faculty position is intense. You have to write these research statements about what you're going to do for the next 15 years, and you have to say what's your teaching philosophy, and then you got to go there and you got to tell it requires practice. So it's a good idea to apply anyway, and then go into it thinking you're not going to get the job, and that's fine, and then you won't be stressed out about it. Okay. Personalize your applications, and this is the same kind of theme as that form email thing I was talking about. So people can tell if you just copied and pasted from a generic application that you have. So really look through, learn about the school that you're applying to and say, who would I collaborate with? What is their mission statement? All these schools have mission statements that they're trying to go in a certain direction. Like for example, Drexel has been pretty clear that they want to be more international. So I really marketed that part of me, that I also really want to be international, and I think that my goals fit in line really well with your goals. So just things like that, and also, what classes you'd like to teach, so you might want to look at their, what core curriculum they have, and say what classes you would love to teach, and then maybe what ones you might want to introduce a couple of years down the road.